Hey guys, this is Nod Lammers of Invoked 101, and today I wanted to talk about the new Invoked Link monster and how it's going to affect the Invoked deck as a whole. So the Invoked Link monster is Alistair the Meltdown Invoker, and I'm going to try and remember the exact effect off memory because I kind of remember it. Basically what he is he's a 1800 Link 2 Dark Spellcaster. He needs 2 monsters that are different types and attributes to summon him. And then he is treated as Alistair the Invoker while on the field and in the graveyard, and whenever a fusion monster is fusion summoned to the field, you can search out an invocation or Book of the Law by discarding 1 card. Then if he is sent from the field to the graveyard by opponent's card effect, you can add 1 Omega Summon from your deck to your hand. So let's talk about the first bit, where it needs 2 monsters of different types and attributes to summon him. I kind of like that. I kind of like the idea that it's like, oh, cool, but at the same time, you can't really... This kind of almost kills Witch Invoked to a degree, although in another sense, it almost makes it more playable. And the way that I say that is because what you could do is you could do your turn 1 combo with the Witches to make Crystal Wing and, you know, set Alistair, summon him, whatever you want to do with him. But then, as long as Crystal Wing doesn't die, which is pretty hard to do, I guess as long as it doesn't get Kaiju because he's unkillable by card effects at that point, what you can do is you can normal summon Alistair and send Crystal Wing and Alistair after searching Invocation to the graveyard for Meltdown Invoker, and if you have this card in your deck, because this could be a really cool play, you could activate Return of the Dragon Lords to summon back Crystal Wing to another zone that isn't under the Invoker, and then make a Ragin or potentially a Makaba or Purgatrio to go with your Alistair. And then, again, as long as you have a card to discard, you can search out Book of the Law or Invocation to keep going in the fusion summons. And basically make a board of 4 extra deck monsters turn 2, as long as you don't get stopped. And that's a big... Whew. So, another thing about this guy is that he's treated as Alistair the Invoker while on the field or in the graveyard. I personally would have preferred if he was Alistair in the graveyard and while banished. That's just me thinking out loud. I think that, so that way if you do happen to get him banished or you do banish him off of Invocation from the graveyard, you can put him back into your extra deck. I think that would have been a really cool interaction. Although I do think him being called and treated as Alistair is definitely needed for the deck. I do think that is a really useful thing for him to be able, or like to have on his card. So I think that's really useful. The other thing that he does is, of course, he searches Invocation and Book of the Law by discarding a card whenever a monster is fusion summoned, and that includes your opponent. If your opponent fusions into, what's he called, ABC Dragon Buster, you can search an Invocation or Book of the Law, tag out, and especially Book of the Law, and tag out your monster. Let's kind of talk about Book of the Law. Book of the Law is basically a mask change for Invoked, which, if anyone's ever played against Mask Heroes, they know how strong mask change can be. It's basically, what it does is you target 1 Invoked monster you control, you send it to the graveyard, or attribute it, something along those lines, and then you summon an Invoked monster of a different attribute from your extra deck, and it counts as a fusion summon, meaning you can revive these monsters if you are given the opportunity to. This Book of the Law is by no means a bad card, but we couldn't search it, unlike Heroes, which can search their version. But now with this new Meltdown Invoker and the ability to search Book of the Law, the question arises, do we play Book of the Law and Invoked? And I think the answer is yes. Being able to search Book of the Law, because you have Alistair you have little Alistair who can search Invocation. That's fine. I almost am never going to I've been playing Meltdown Invoker online. I almost never search Invocation. I'm almost always going for Book of the Law because it makes invoked OTK a lot stronger. The only sad part about Book of the Law is that you can't tag out the Link monster, to my knowledge, because he's not an invoked monster, which is a little sad. I also believe you can't tag out Elysium because she is treated as everything. I do think that the discard is a bit much on it, but I like it. Going into his last effect, where if he's destroyed by opponent's card effect and sent to the graveyard, and he searches Omega Summon, we do not play Omega Summon. That is not a card that's playable. I don't think... If I get board wiped, I don't want to search a trap card that's like, oh, look at this, look what I just got, boy, it's gonna come get ya. Because the most you're really going to be summoning off of it is, oh yeah, you can summon a Makaba or a, what's the other one you banish a lot? Ragin? I think you banish Ragin a lot in the deck. I can't remember off the top of my head which other one I banish a lot, but I know I banish Makaba a lot in the deck. So that's the most you're ever going to get back out of it. For those who don't know what Omega Summon is, it's a trap card, and what it does is you flip it over and you summon as many banished invoked monsters as possible, but I think they're in defense position. I don't know, I turned my copy of the card into a token, so I don't know what the card does. For the most part. I know it's able to summon back all the banished invoked monsters. But yeah, I don't think that we still play Omega Summon. I still think that card's really bad. Compared to Invoked Mass Change and Invocation. I think Invoked needed a Link monster. I definitely agree that Invoked did need a Link monster. I wish the Wind one worked with Invoked a lot better than it does, because it doesn't work with them at all. But I think the Meltdown Invoker is a good one. I just think that the way you have to play the strategy now is a little different. One of the main ways I've been using to summon that I've been using this card is there's a couple cool combos that I've been testing out. And if you want to see a deck profile, it would be online, of course, of some of the cards that I play to summon this guy turn 1 and go into a strong board turn 1. I can show that off. But the main way I like to summon this guy is it's 3 cards. You need 3 cards in your opening hand, and that would be... I guess you don't need 3 cards, but you need 2 cards in a way to get to Alistair, which is either the field spell, Terraforming, or Alistair himself. And that is, I like to play Photon Thrasher. I like to play Gigabyte, Inari Fire, and Nefarious Archfiend. I like to play those guys because they can all special summon themselves when you control a spellcaster. And, of course, Alistair. And with Photon Thrasher, he's a light warrior. Gigabyte is a water reptile. Inari Fire is a fire pyro, and Nefarious Archfiend is, I believe he's an earth beast, or an earth fiend, one of the two. Either way, they're all different types and attributes, different from Alistair. So what you would do, special summon Photon Thrasher, normal summon Alistair, search Invocation, and then special summon Gigabyte, Inari Fire, or Nefarious Archfiend from your hand. Send, potentially if you open Inari Fire and Gigabyte, you can special summon both and then send those 2 off for the Alistair monster. But no, truth be told, you are sending the Alistair for the Meltdown Invoker because of because you want him in the graveyard. You want to get him back in your hand. So yeah, and then you're going to activate the Invocation to summon Makaba using the Photon Thrasher, discard a card, and search out another Invocation, activate it, and then summon either Purgatrio, that's the goal, that's the main one you want to summon is Purgatrio, Coxius, or Magilancia, and then you want to get Alistair back into your hand with one of the 2 invocations. I think with the new guy, I don't think we run Invocation at 3 yet. I think that Thunder Dragon is going to be a bit more... By the way, I'll put up... There should be pictures everywhere right here of the cards I'm talking about. But yeah, Thunder Dragon I think is going to be a lot stronger in the deck. Thunder Dragon, for those who don't know, is a dragon. He's a level 5, I think. He's a level 5 dragon. You discard him and search 2 more copies. I think he's going to be a lot stronger in the deck now, with the Link monster being that we can basically get Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon on field for free. And also, if we do happen to start running 3 invocations, we can use the invocation as a as a regular fusion spell from the hand. Potentially to get back a banished Alistair, or just to get stuff engraved. Another thing that I've been tinkering with is possibly running Allure of Darkness in the deck, especially if this is the way that the deck is running. With the ability to use Invocation more as a regular fusion spell, I think that the deck is going to become a more aggro, less of a control deck that Invoked really is, and more towards an aggro variant. And I think that's completely possible. I think the Meltdown Invoker promotes a strategy that is fusion summon heavy, using more of a control aggro deck instead of the total control variant that Invoked really kind of was when it came to Invoked Winwitch Artifact. But yeah, I definitely enjoy the deck. I think that Meltdown Invoker is a good card. I think he's fine. Is there another Link monster that you can use in Invoked? Of course there are. Land Phalanx, which is a card we don't have yet. But of course you can run Land Phalanx, Decode Talker. If you run Scapegoat, you can use Mrs. Radiant. There's a whole bunch of things you can use in the deck to help you do that. The issue with Scapegoat in my variant of Invoked, of course, which is Invoked Winwitch, is that Mrs. Radiant weakens my guys. But you can use the tokens to help go into the Meltdown Invoker as well. Anyway, what are your thoughts on the Invoked Link monster? Do you like him? Do you think he's good? What did he need to be better for the deck? Anyways, this has been Not Lammers of Invoked 101. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys in the next video.